Hi everybody, my name is Lisha, and today I wanted to make a video talking about scammers on Depop and how to avoid them. Now, it's no secret that Depop kind of has a problem with scammers, and it kind of makes the whole app sound super sketchy, but I promise that as long as you're not doing anything questionable, then you're going to be completely safe using Depop. If you simply were to search scam in the Depop search bar, there's tons of posts coming up of people being scammed countless different ways, and in this video I wanted to go over the different ways that you can be scammed and how to avoid that from both selling and buying. So firstly, I'm going to go into the different scams you can encounter as a buyer, which is kind of the more common way to be scammed as a buyer rather than a seller. So luckily, I have never personally been scammed, but I've seen many posts of other people that I follow that have been. And so it's obviously a big problem, and it has affected a lot of people. And oftentimes it's not just a few dollars, it's like hundreds of dollars that people have been scammed out of. So I just really wanted to make people aware. Now, the easiest way someone can scam you, and the top thing you really want to avoid, is when you don't purchase within the app. So oftentimes people will say that they want you to e-transfer them their money, or just like they send a separate PayPal personal link. And at first it might not seem that sketchy because honestly a lot of people do this, and just because they do it doesn't mean they're a scammer, but this is the easiest way someone can scam you. Because once you purchase outside of the app, you're no longer protected under Depop's buyer protection. If anything were to happen, like they didn't send you the package or whatever items you bought, there's nothing Depop can do because they have no proof of the purchase. And they would ask this in order to avoid Depop and PayPal's fees, which kind of makes sense, but is against Depop's rules, of course. So with that being said, I would highly recommend to always purchase within the app, no matter how much you want the item, no matter how much the person seems like they're not sketchy. I would highly encourage to always purchase within the app, because really you never know, like a package could get lost or something could happen out of your control, and you want to make sure you're protected through Depop's buyer protection, because it's just way too easy for somebody to take advantage of you when you're not paying through the app and when you're just e-transferring them money. So as long as you pay within the Depop app, you have nothing to worry about. And basically, if you were to get scammed, or if someone just like wasn't sending you your item, you can basically file a dispute with PayPal, and they would basically take care of everything and make sure you get your package or get your money back. And often people will say excuses like, oh, my PayPal isn't working, you'll have to e-transfer me, which like at first you might not even think twice, like, oh, okay, that makes sense, but that's actually one of the major ways people will hook you and get you to pay off the app. So I'd say no matter what, always pay within the app. That's the number one rule if you take anything away from this video. Now, the next easiest way for people to scam you is through trading. So on Depop, it's actually quite popular for people to trade items, because it's a really great way to get more clothes in your wardrobe and like just swap some clothes without having to really spend as much money. All you have to do is pay for shipping to send out the item that you're giving to someone, and they would pay shipping to send out your item. The problem is that normally how this goes down is each person would make a post on their page with the value of $1, so you would each buy the post just to kind of like lock in the deal. And basically at that point you would just have to trust the other person to send the package. There's nothing stopping them from not sending it. And even if you were to file that dispute, you would only get that $1 back. Or say it was covering the shipping cost, you would only get that, let's say, $10 of shipping. But now you've got your $10 back, but you've lost all those items that could have been worth more than $10 that you've now sent to this person, and they didn't send you what you were supposed to get. The ways I've seen people being scammed is the other person often makes excuses saying, oh, I'm really like stressed right now with school, or just like I haven't had time. That is like a big sign of a scammer. And even if you're not a scammer and you say that, that's just like not cool. Like if you're not able to commit to the trade, then don't do it in the first place. Or often someone will do a trade and then all of a sudden the other person just like deletes their account or like blocks them, and then you have no way of contacting that person you're supposed to trade with. So like I said before, this is pretty popular within Depop, and I'm not saying that every single person who does this is a scammer, but just be really careful and just be cautious of who you're going to trust and trade with. Now, the next scam that I wanted to go over is kind of debatable on whether it's considered a scam or not. I'm basically talking about dropshipping. If you don't know what that is, I'm just going to quickly explain it. It's basically when somebody advertises a product on their shop, but they don't actually own it. They don't have it with them. All they're doing is going on some third-party website that sells like mass amounts of products, and all they're doing is buying it for you and sending it to your address, but charging you a higher price, so they make like a profit on it, which recently has been banned on Depop, which is awesome, but you still come across it every now and then. And the reason I feel like this is a scam is because nothing is stopping you from just going to that exact same website and buying it yourself. It's just people kind of like taking advantage of you for not knowing that's what they're doing. And one of the most obvious ways you can tell someone is doing dropshipping is in the description. It will say various sizes, like sizes small to extra large, and it often will say it will take 3 to 5 weeks to ship, or will give like a span of when it's going to ship. And often the pictures are kind of generic and maybe don't quite match up with the rest of the person's profile. So it is something to be aware of, and maybe you didn't know, but now you do. Now lastly, I just wanted to throw in a few red flags as a buyer that you should look out for that are usually signs of a scam. So firstly, Brandy Melville. Unfortunately, a lot of people have been using Brandy Melville to scam others, and I think it's just because a lot of their pieces are rare and a lot of the stores have been closing in Canada, I believe. And of course, I'm not saying that everyone who's selling Brandy Melville is a scammer, of course not, but if someone were to scam you by just like selling items and not sending them to you, it usually is with Brandy Melville pieces. In order to tell if this is a scam or not, you should definitely check all of their pictures on the profile of like what they're selling and see if the pictures match up. See if they have try-on pictures of them actually trying it on, because often they'll just have pictures like from the online store and that sort of thing, or generic pictures that they've searched up on Google. And you should really look at the person's reviews, which is a major thing that you should always do before you buy. Of course, there's always new people starting up their shop, so sometimes they don't have reviews, but if someone has a lot of reviews that maybe aren't so great, that's definitely a red flag. And you have to make sure to actually click on the reviews, because when it just shows that in their profile, it's actually showing both their selling and their buyer reviews. So if you didn't know, when you buy something on Depop, the person who sold that to you actually gets to review you as well. So you really need to click on the little stars and see the separation between buyer and seller, because you want to see their seller reviews, not their buyer reviews. Another really big red flag is like expensive luxury items or like electronics that range from like couple $100 to, you know, $500, $1,000 even. I would honestly try to avoid these. It's just like such a big risk, I feel like, spending that much money, and it's such a good like bait for scammers to use like expensive items. But as long as you pay within the app, I think you'll be fine if anything went wrong. But this is often where scammers will get you. They'll make you buy really expensive items and make you purchase off the app. Scammers will often pressure you as well in your DM saying, oh, like you need to buy this right now, or other people are about to buy this if you don't buy it. So that is another major red flag. Don't let anyone pressure you into buying an item. So that pretty much covers the main ways you can be scammed as a buyer. So I am going to quickly go into ways you can be scammed as a seller, which you might not even have thought of or realized. So as a seller on Depop, you don't have to worry too much about being scammed. It's a lot harder, and usually it's a lot easier to scam someone when they're buying something anyways. But with that being said, as a seller, the number one rule is to always ship with tracked shipping, because unfortunately, because of buyer protection, PayPal and Depop need to see proof of shipping, that you shipped with a tracking number to the correct address. Otherwise, if the package gets lost somehow, somebody can file a claim to you saying that they never got their package, and you will lose that money and they will get their money back. So I would say always try to ship tracked, because this is where someone can take advantage of you, and even though you actually did send the package, they could pretend they never got it. And that's how they're going to scam you, because if you didn't provide tracking information, then Depop and PayPal are going to, as far as they know, you didn't send the package. So as long as you ship tracked, you are safe. But I know in Canada, shipping can be so expensive, like ridiculously expensive. And when you're selling like a small item that's only worth maybe like $5 or even less, or even $10, it's kind of hard to expect the buyer to pay almost more for shipping than the actual item that they're buying. So a lot of people do ship untracked, which is fine, but you just have to keep in the back of your mind that someone could take advantage of you that way. And a rule for me, at least, is as long as the item is inexpensive, like $5 to $10, it's not as big of a risk because the chances that someone's going to do that aren't as big. So if I were to lose $5 to $10, it wouldn't be as big of a deal. Now, if I were to lose like $50 to like $100, that would be a lot worse. So I would say always ship tracked for items that are a little bit more expensive, because after all, the package could get lost at the end of the day, and that's not your fault, it's not their fault. But according to PayPal and Depop, because you didn't ship it tracked, it is your fault, and you're going to be the one who's going to lose the money. And if someone ever buys something from your shop but then messages you saying that they actually had the wrong address and that you need to send it to this new address that they've given you, that could be actually a legitimate problem that person had, but it's also a really easy way for someone to scam you, because if you were to ship to the address that they gave you in the DMs, they could go then and say to PayPal and Depop, I never received this package, and when PayPal and Depop check their records, it's going to show that you sent it to the wrong address. So if that were ever to happen to you, if someone said that, hey, I put in the wrong address accidentally, can you send it here instead? What you're supposed to do is offer them a refund and then get them to repurchase it, because that's the only way that you're going to know that in PayPal and Depop's eyes, you are sending it to the correct address. Now, as long as you pay attention to everything I just said, you are going to have a great time on Depop, I promise. And I hope that this video helps someone. I wish I knew all of this stuff before I started Depop, because I feel like I could have easily been scammed. Like, I didn't realize how easy it was for someone to do that. So I hope that all made sense. If you have any questions, let me know, or if you have thought of any other ways that someone can scam you, let me know in the comments for everyone to share. I will leave my Depop below, of course, if you wanted to check it out. And thanks for watching. Bye.